What's up, guys? We're going to do a quick tutorial on how to change out the sear in your Witness Elite Match Tanfoglio. Regular Witnesses probably will work too, and this will probably work on the Limited. I'm not so sure if it'll work with the CZ because I'm not so sure that the internals are exactly the same. These are based on the CZ design, but I'm not necessarily sure that all the internals are the same. The tools you guys are going to need to complete this job is just simply a flathead screwdriver, a small flathead screwdriver, a 3/32 punch, and a Q-tip. That's just how easy it is to change a sear out on these guns. I'm not going to show you guys how to remove the sear housing because I have that in another video, and you can check that out right here. So if you don't know how to remove the sear housing, please click the link right here, watch the video on how to remove the sear housing, and then come back to this video. Alright guys, so once you got your sear housing out, what you want to go ahead and do is take your 3/32 punch and go ahead and just push that pin out that holds the sear in. Just that easy. Here's the pin that holds the sear, and then the sear will just drop out the bottom, and then go ahead and take your spring out, and now you separate your sear housing, your sear, and your sear spring. Now what I'll go ahead and do is give you guys a comparison of a new sear and an old sear, what all the different legs mean and how they relate to the gun, and how to reinstall your sear with a little trick that'll make getting everything back in there pretty easy. Alright guys, I'm going to give you a quick explanation of what all the legs on the sear are actually used for. This leg right here, this top one, this is the leg that is going to engage the safety mechanism. When you flip your safety up, this is the leg that's going to hit the indentation on your safety, which will keep it from firing your gun. This bottom leg here, this leg is for the trigger reset bar, which resets your trigger. You might have to do some fitment on that with a brand new trigger. This portion at the back obviously is the portion that comes in contact with your hammer. This final leg here at the bottom, this leg is the leg that pushes up the firing pin block. So this big leg on the right, this is the one that's gonna do the your firing pin block. This other top leg, this is the one that's gonna do your safety, and this one is your trigger reset bar. So that explains a quick overview of all the legs, what they do on the sear. So it gives you a better idea if you have to tweak anything when you're putting in a new sear. Alright guys, a quick look at 3 different sears here. This is the factory sear that came with the gun. This is a brand new sear from the factory. This is another brand new sear from the factory that I had to modify. I'll go through and kind of explain all of these and what has to be modified. For me, this is the original sear. What happened when I got my new sear, this one that I put in my gun, if you can see how this leg is much more flat and this one is much more curved. The safety, the new sear, I tried to put in the new factory, and because it was curved here and not flat like the original one that I got with the gun, it would not engage the safety. When I flipped the safety up, you could still drop the hammer. So obviously that's a big problem. So on this is another new sear that I got. This one, I took it into work, had the guys, they just hit it with a dab of weld, and then I just sanded it out to where it was correct. So you can see how this one's kind of straight on the original that came with the gun. This is a brand new factory one, where it's curved slightly enough so that wasn't hitting the stop on the safety lever. And then this is the one that I modified with a little weld, flattened it out, works like a charm. Alright, on this leg you can see how there's a slight curve here on the bottom leg on the original sear that came with the gun. This one is just straight out. This one has a slight curve again. I had to just sand this down a little bit to get the trigger to reset properly. So if you get a new sear, you put it in your gun and you're not getting your resets properly, your trigger's not resetting properly, just start to sand a real little bit off this bottom leg here. And then also I'd recommend, if you can see this one, how how I sanded this right here, this portion, real smooth. Do not do that on the factory sears. These factory sears are only surface hardened, meaning that if you sand down past the surface, then the metal is going to start to deteriorate very quickly. Unfortunately, that's the only probably drawback to this gun. These are only surface hardened, so once the surface hardening is worn off, then the metal will begin to deteriorate very quickly on the sears. So they do have aftermarket sears, the EGW, which Henning sells. Those ones are great, but the only problem is they don't have the firing pin block leg on them. So if you put them in, you're going to have to take your firing pin block out. And if you want to use this gun for IDPA, you have to have your firing pin block in there. So that's a drawback of the EGW sear. I heard Henning is probably going to make his own sear, and I'm sure he'll make a variant with the firing pin block leg in there. So when you guys get a new sear and you're putting it in, if you're having a problem where your safety is not working, you're going to have to add material here. If you're having a problem where your trigger is not resetting properly, start to shave off this bottom leg, just very, very little bit at a time. Test it, keep testing it, sand a little bit more until it's working properly. You can just take a quick look. This is the original sear again that came with the gun. This is a brand new factory sear that they sent me. This is another brand new factory that I modified to work flawlessly in my gun. You're going to have to add a little bit for the safety, at least I did. Every gun's a little different. And then shave a little bit off the bottom leg for the trigger reset. But after you get that, it's pretty easy. This is just a quick overview of this sears one more time. This is the one that came with the gun. This is the one, this is a brand new from the factory, and then this is a brand new modified. Alright guys, now it's time to install the new sear. This is where the Q-tip comes into play. I recommend just a regular Q-tip, the paper shaft kind, and what you're going to want to do is go ahead and cut one side off, stick it through your sear till you get one that's the width of your sear. Like here's your sear, cut one side off, stick it through, and then cut it off so it's the width of your sear. See how it's in there and there's no overhang? You want to cut the Q-tip off so it's the width of your sear, just like that. Now to reinstall your sear, what you want to do is take your spring, your sear spring, and this is how it installs in this direction. What you're going to do is take your spring, insert it into your sear like so. Notice the direction and orientation of this, guys. Insert it like that. Slip your Q-tip portion through to hold the spring in place. So now you should have something that looks like that, the spring down. Now to insert it back into the housing, what you're going to have to do is the sear will only go in from the bottom. So you have your sear housing like this, you're going to want to insert it from the bottom. Go ahead and take this spring, insert that first, and then kind of torque it around. Bend it like that till you get it in there, and then everything will line up like that. Just take your pin and just push your pin back through and it'll push the Q-tip portion out. There you go. It's just that easy. Now your sears are reinstalled into your housing. Everything is good to go. These guns are so easy to work on. The modular housing like this that just comes out of the gun, I mean, it's great. That's why I love these guns. The design is just so awesome. Well, another thing you're gonna have to do is go ahead and take your sear spring and push that back up and over onto the groove, and then you're done. Now your your new sear is installed into your housing, your sear housing, and you can go ahead and reassemble your gun and test it out. So you're all done. It's just that easy, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped you. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. Check out my channel for a ton of other videos on how to work on this gun. And that's it. Thanks, guys.